I would suggest, and he would take from his own military training, his own military experience, do not start with trying to attack the fact that someone raised their hand to serve this country.
Paul Rykoff, your thoughts and reaction to all of this?
Well, as usual, Wes Moore is right, and he is a North Star for our country, and I'm honored to call him a friend, but I'm also honored to call Tim Walz a friend. I've known him for almost 20 years, and he is a person of integrity, character, honor. He's one of the most honorable, hardworking politicians I've ever met. I like him so much, it's hard for me to believe sometimes he's a politician. We worked together for so many years on the House Veterans Affairs Committee. His time in the National Guard is very important. 24 years as a Sergeant Major. He served his community and his country. He's trained. He's been trained. He understands what it's like to wear the uniform. But in many ways, what he did in Congress was even more important, because that was really transformative. He was there every single time we needed him for over a decade. And Republicans will tell you this, too. Everybody who's worked on the Hill knows that Tim Walz delivered for veterans on mental health, on the Clay Hunt Suicide Prevention Act. He was the lead sponsor on the GI Bill, on VA reform. Time and time again, Tim Walz was there. And I call him, a lovable bulldog. I mean, that's what he is. You love Tim Walz, but you also respect Tim Walz because nobody works harder. And I think you're going to hear a lot more of that in the next couple of years, especially from Republicans who know that when the rubber meets the road, for veterans especially, Tim Walz has been there.
If you can just speak about why that was ahead of this pick so important to you and how you think she should deploy Governor Walz in the next 90 days. Politically.
I actually spoke to Tim Walz a couple weeks ago, and I wasn't sure if he was actually in the running. And I'm excited as an independent to see that he was, because I was hoping the Democrats wouldn't screw this up and pick someone without national security experience. They only had a couple options. I mean, they could go with Mark Kelly, or they could go with Pete Buttigieg, or they could go with Tim Walz. And Tim Walz is exciting for a lot of reasons, but I think most of all because he actually sounds like an independent. He sounds like someone who's a maverick. He understands how to talk to people. He's a coach. He's a teacher. He's a dad, and he feels like a normal person. But he's a bit more than normal because he works so hard. He's so smart. He's such an effective communicator, and I think that's what Kamala Harris saw. She saw someone who can get her ground in red states, who can pick off some people in swing states, who can move independents. Half of veterans are independent, and I think there's going to be a war between the warriors, which frankly makes me sad. I don't like seeing J.D. Vance and Tim Walz fighting on any level, and I hope maybe they could even do a ceasefire here and say, let's set the right tone, because an important piece here, Nicole, is this isn't going to be the first time we're going to have veterans run against each other. You're probably going to see somebody like Wes Moore. Maybe you'll see Amy McGrath. There's going to be a generation from both parties and maybe from no party at all. And I think they both have an opportunity to set a peaceful tone, a respectful tone, like we saw among the World War II veterans that helped do so much for this country in a bipartisan way.